Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Monday, the 1st of June, 2015. This is episode 131. ZK is coming. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. I am so excited that it is now June. It is officially Zombie Apocalypse month. I'm really excited to see all of my friends and have a vacation and does this sound horrible? Have some time away from my kids. Just a little bit of time, not a lot. I love my babies more than anything, but sometimes it's nice to be, a person who is not defined by being a mom. I think other moms know what I'm talking about. Like sometimes you're at a point where you're just so-and-so's mom, and at the ZK I am not, and that's lovely. I'm excited to talk to people about knitting and talk to grown-ups all day and talk to grown-ups in a capacity where I am not a item scanning robot. So that will be super fun. The craft along is going fantastically. You guys are amazing. So many small objects getting finished, so much progress on blankets and toys. Oh, I love the little toys. I love them. I don't love making them, but I love to look at them. They're adorable. Oh, I have something else from this week. So yeah, keep making your small things or your big things. Big finished objects count also. Blankets or whatever. Sweaters. If you finish a whole thing, stick it in there. But the other big thing that happened this week is on Saturday, I taught Steve's aunt, Kimmy, how to crochet. She knew how to chain, but that wasn't really helpful because she wanted to learn how to crochet so that she could make dishcloths. And I decided that the best way for her to make a dishcloth would be to work from a center out sort of thing. I like those better for dishcloths because you can make them to the exact size you want without having to guess how many to start with your foundation chain. And if you run out of yarn, it's fine because you just stop where you fasten off and you have a square. It's not like a 3-inch by 6-inch rectangle at that point. So that's what we did. And she did it. And not only that, she started her second one on Sunday. I know, I'm so excited. I don't know if she's going to keep up with it. I hope she does. But if she doesn't, that's okay. But the real thing is that she was able to start on Sunday by herself with some written instructions I had given her, and she kept up with it for 2 whole days. I'm super excited. I love teaching people how to do things. It makes my day very happy. So finished objects. I have 2. The first is still slightly damp, so I'm gonna put this on. It is I put it on the wrong hand. This is the Galaxy Mittens by Kate Klemp, and I knit the sample for Leading Men Fiber Arts. The dark gray color is called Darkest Hour, and the purple is Royalty. So those are the mittens. They are mirrored, and I still have to weave in all the ends, which I'm going to do after the mittens are dry, which might take a couple days because it is rainy here today. Rain. Making all the things take forever to dry. The pattern was very well written. The yarn knit up super nicely, and I used US size 1 for the colorwork portion, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle, and US size 0 for the ribbing portion, and that is a 2.0 millimeter needle. So they are finished, and I will be contacting Steve to see if I'm sending them off or just taking them to the ZK. I don't know which he would prefer at this point once they're dry. And see, do I have anything else to say about that project? I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was a good pattern, good yarn. But I've been working on it for several weeks now, so I think anything else I had to say you've already heard. The other project that I finished is Cecilia's socks. So these are tube socks. Using the toes and the cuffs are Lion Brand Sockies in the cotton candy colorway, which is yarn that I frogged out of a pair of socks that I made for her 3-ish years ago, and then they got passed to Mara, and then they got a hole in them, so I frogged them, and that's the cuff. And then the body of the foot is 716 knit, 716 sock in the Something About Shoes colorway, and dating guys 3 inches taller because of shoes. It was a club colorway from Daria based off of the members of the fashion club. And I love these socks so much. The more I knit on them, the more I loved this colorway. I think I would even wear this colorway now. I know, right? I think I would wear socks made out of this. So it's very, very cool colors. It's got the solid, well, it's not completely solid, but it's like a semi-solid large stripe and a speckly stripe, and then a very thin semi-solid aqua stripe. Love these socks. It's, did I say it was my pattern, the child tube sock recipe? And you knit on US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needle. Very quick. I used a different ribbing pattern than in the recipe, but you know, it still, I made more ribs as I felt like it, like moved in toward the center as I felt like it. So yeah, I have to weave in ends on those. I'm gonna have a big end weaving party, probably in 2 or 3 days when these mitts are finally dry. I have some works in progress. Well, I have a work in progress. Still haven't touched the shawl because I'm a fail. But, oh, I do have one other finished object, but I don't know where it is. I made an entire dishcloth while I was teaching Kimmy how to make a dishcloth. So I made a dishcloth. It's crocheted. It's just a square of single crochets, and it's done spiral wise where you don't have to slip stitch into the first stitch of the round. You just go around and around and around forever until you bind off. I worked on the Delancey cardigan and I made a decent amount of progress. So where is my stitch marker from last week? I don't know. Do you see it? Do you see the little green stitch marker? There it is. Okay, so I was here, which means I did those inches up, and then I did the right front and the back. So I have to do the left front, and then after the left front, I have to seam the shoulders and do sleeves, and then pick up for the, I think you pick up around the entire sweater, or maybe you do the bottom and then, okay, so it looks like, because I'm wearing a Delancey cardigan, it looks like you pick up the bottom and do the bottom, and then you pick up for the collar and do the collar. And at some point there are also sleeves. So I'm pretty close to finishing, which is good because I want to have this finished for the Zombie Knit Apocalypse, because that was the challenge. The challenge was all of my friends were making Delanceys and we were going to have them all at the Zombie Knit Apocalypse. And not that I'm trying to throw any shade on anybody, but certain people who did the pressuring are not as far as I am on their Delanceys and may not finish by the Zombie Knit Apocalypse. You know who you are. And you need to start working on your Delancey, because that was the agreement that we were all going to have them. And the only person who is exempt is Lisa because of an injury. Everybody else, you know who you are. So yeah, Delancey cardigan should be finished by the ZK. The yarn that I'm using is Knit Picks Full Circle, and it is 100% wool, but I think it's recycled wool or something. I'm not 100% on why it's full circle. Also, my bangs are driving me crazy. Hair is silly. The blue color is called Denim, and the gray color is called gray color. Which hand am I holding things with? This one is called Query. This pattern is really smart, but I don't love how it's written. There are a few places where I feel like the text could have been simplified to make the pattern easier to follow. But overall, I'm enjoying this knit a lot. It's pretty quick. It's pretty easy. It's just a couple, well, it's just 4 increases or decreases in a row for the most part, and knitting and purling. So probably not first sweater, but maybe second sweater this would be good for. That's the back that you're looking at. I hope to have this finished next week, really. But I don't know, because I am going to be starting a bunch of projects in the next few days. Oh, I forgot to turn off Gabriel's bus alarm. Let me do that. There is no more school, so there is no bus. I just forgot to turn off that alarm. I remembered, though, to turn off the wake up the child alarm, which is good. Side tangent. So Saturday was kind of the first official day of summer break because Friday was the last day of school. And instead of sleeping in like a good child, even though she doesn't have school, instead of sleeping in like a good child, I had to get up at 6 a.m. on Saturday with Mara because I was asleep and I thought I heard the back door open. And I was like, did I just hear that? And so I laid there for a moment, contemplating getting up to look out the window to see if there was a child back there. And then I heard the door open again and I was like, yeah, that was definitely the back door. So I got up, put on outside appropriate clothing, went downstairs, went outside. There she was, just playing in the mud. I was like, what are you doing? It's way too early to be playing outside. She was like, no, it's not. So I sat outside for a few minutes, but it was kind of cool, so she was ready to go in pretty quickly. And I grabbed some knitting, and we sat down on the couch, and she had a book, and she was reading, and I was knitting. And then she immediately passed out, of course. And I did not immediately pass out because by the time she passed out, there was only an hour until my alarm was going off. And I was like, oh, should I take a nap? Should I knit? I ended up mostly knitting and then taking a 20-minute nap at the end right before my alarm went off. Why do my children insist on waking up so early all the time? The parents who, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. The lovely thing is, during the school year, Gabriel gets himself up and gets himself ready, and really I have the alarm to go off to wake him up just to make sure, because once every 3 weeks or so, he doesn't wake up on his own. But I have that alarm, and then he gets himself ready for the bus, and the only thing that needs to happen at all during the morning is 1, making sure he wakes up in the morning, and then 2, making sure he's outside on time, because he's still... reading time is still a little tricky. He's 6. It's fine. He'll get there eventually. So he might miss the bus if someone wasn't there to be like, hey, it's time to go outside. Also to make sure that he's not outside way too early, because he thinks that it would be appropriate to go outside and wait for the bus at about 7:45. And the bus doesn't get there until 8:05. That's a long time for him to be standing outside in rain and snow and super hot sun. So anyway, my children have been waking up so early all week, and I just wish that they would sleep in just a little, just until 8. 8 would be appropriate sleeping in for me, for them. Anyway, that's really all I worked on this week, but I have thoughts for what I want to finish this week. I haven't taken my blanket picture. I'll probably do that while this is uploading, and maybe I'll insert a photo. But I have plans for what I want to put on the blanket. So that shawl, the ad hoc shawl, Mystery Knit Along, which is no longer a mystery, I really want to get that done this month. Maybe not by the ZK. I mean, theoretically, I would love it to be finished by the ZK. I don't know if that's realistic because I have a couple things that need to be done by the ZK, and then the shawl and the sweater I would like to be done by the ZK, and then 2 other things that are for ZK knitting. So sweater and shawl, I would like those to be done by the ZK, but it's not mandatory. The 2 things that do need to be finished by the ZK. I am knitting a sample for Lisa for a shawl that she designed, and I am using 716 Knit Solo 2 base in the Little Miss Stable colorway, and woo, that is bright showing up. I mean, it is bright. It's a bright orange, but it's not quite that bright. That's a little bit better. So I'm making a shawl out of this, which I will be casting on immediately. I meant to cast it on last week, and then I just didn't get to it. But now it's June 1st, and I have to cast it on. So I have that, and then I have to make, I'm going to make socks for Josh for the ZK. So this is my yarn. It is Peyton's Croy socks in the blue brown marl colorway. So it is self-striping. The pattern I am going to use, I was looking around in my queue and trying to find something that would work well with self-striping, because a lot of the patterns that Josh likes are not necessarily self-striping friendly. They're more like a variegated or a tonal sock yarn is what would be good for them. So I think what I'm going to do is the Expanding Community by Megan Williams. It's the pattern that she released at last year's ZK, and I haven't made it yet, and it looks good in self-striping, so I think I'm going to do that. Also, I think it would be fitting for Josh's ZK socks this year to be last year's ZK sock pattern. So that is what I am thinking. And so that the shawl and the Josh socks, those are the need to be finished by the ZK. Okay, theoretically, if I didn't have Josh's socks finished by the ZK and I finished them at the ZK, it would be okay, but I'd rather not have to do that. I'd rather them just be finished and blocked and pretty and lovely to hand off to him. And then the two projects that I am planning on working on at the ZK, my two ZK knitting projects, are a pair of child tube socks, and these ones are for Mara. So the toes and cuffs will be the Lion Brand Saki's Cotton Candy, again, to match Cecilia's. But then the body is going to be Cascade paints in the blue mix colorway. So that's going to be the main body. And these should be super fast because I thought that this was sport weight yarn, but it might be considered a worsted weight yarn. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not a fingering weight, so it'll go quickly for her socks. So that's going to be like my walking around knitting and stuff like that. The other project that I'm going to start at the ZK and hopefully finish before the end of the month, but we'll see. I am going to make another pair of zipper lexicon socks using this unknown yarn, which I can't remember. It's either from Haley or from Josh. Pretty sure I got it at the first ZK from one of those two. And it is sock yarn for sure. I think it's from Josh. It's sock yarn for sure, but it is lots of colors. It's variegated, which is perfect for the zipper lexicon socks. You want highly variegated yarn for that. Yeah. The reason why I'm making zipper lexicons is because Leslie, who is Pixie Knit and does the Knitting Game podcast, had a game sometime last year where she asked what pattern she should make with yarn. What yarn? Was it the Captain Tight Pants yarn? I can't remember for sure, but I think it was. She asked what pattern, and I suggested zipper lexicons, and those are the patterns. That's the pattern that won. So she said she would knit them, but she was a little intimidated by the pattern, and I said I would help her with them. So she's supposed to be casting on at the ZK. So I should probably remind her that that was the plan, and that way she brings hers, because I'm definitely making this pair. I'm starting them at the ZK. And I should be able to finish both, honestly, because it's something like 5 days of vacation time. I think that's right. And a lot of that time will be sitting, so I'll be able to work on the zipper lexicons. And then all of the walking time, the child socks should be super fast. So those are my plans for this month. And I am really excited about casting some things on today, mostly the shawl. The shawl is the end-all be-all must be finished, the orange one by the ZK, finished and blocked, so I can't even just wait until the day before to bind off because it needs to be blocked. But what else? Oh, I have a barn raising square. No hexapuffs this week. Fail. I really wanted to, and I'm going to take my needles to do hexapuffs at the ZK, but we'll see how that goes. And this is square number 25. So I just have to bind off, and I will insert a picture of all 25 squares. The pattern that I'm using is free, and it's linked in on my project page, and it should be linked in the show notes, and if it's not right this second, it will be. If it's not right this second while I'm recording, it will be right this second when you're watching. I will make sure that it's linked for the free pattern. It is super, super simple. It's a really good project for walking around and taking anywhere. Let's see what else. New things. I received a bunch of new things. Last week I turned 29 and I got a few things for my birthday. One I can't show you. It was a $25 Etsy gift card from Haley, which I have not yet spent because I'm a little overwhelmed by all of the things that I would like to get on Etsy. So my cart is full of a bajillion things. And every day I go through and I'm like, that's nice, but it's not desperate to come home with me. So I take those things out and my cart is still really, really full. I need to pare down so that, I'm just getting one or two things that I really, really love. So you'll see that someday in the future. I don't know when I finally decide to spend her gift card, but that was really, really lovely. Allison sent me Water and Stone by Vera Valimaki, which is a sweater pattern, and it is so beautiful. I also received another sweater pattern from Lisa. She sent me the Calligraphy Cardigan by Hannah Fettig. Also a beautiful sweater. I really, really, really like sweaters. Secretly, I like sweaters as much as I like socks. But that's the whole reason why I learned how to knit, so that I could make sweaters and socks that I liked. Instead of, you can crochet sweaters, and there are some lovely crocheted sweaters. I just enjoy knitted sweaters more, for me personally. I'm sure that I would like making crocheted sweaters because crocheting is really fast. And for kids' garments and things, I prefer crochet over knitting just because it's so much faster and kids grow so fast. But that's not important. So I have two new sweater patterns, and I also have Meadow Socks by Rachel Coopy from Victoria, which is exciting. That is my first Rachel Coopy pattern. And I will be hopefully starting those soon because I really, really, really like the pattern. Obviously not this month, but soon. And I'm excited because I really enjoy looking at Rachel Coopy's designs. I just haven't knit any. Do you see this hair? It wants to be in my eye. It wants to just poke me in the eye. It's very annoying. Anyway, the other thing that I received, and it was not for my birthday, it just happened to arrive on my birthday, which was a nice surprise, is this ball winder, which is over my shoulder, right there. So I have a new to me ball winder. Java Jenny received last year a ball winder from the ZK, from the table, the D-stash table, I think, maybe. Or maybe she won it in the door prize. I don't remember. Sorry. I did read your message on Instagram, but that was a while ago. And sometimes my brain doesn't retain everything. Sorry, Jenny. So I posted on Instagram a couple weeks ago, I don't know, more than a week ago, a photo of me winding a ball of yarn on the center portion of a ball winder, which was all I had left from the ball winder because mine just exploded. All it would make was yarn barf, and it was a disaster. So I was like, you know what? I'll just hand wind the balls myself, and I will use the center part as a Nostipin. And I got rid of the broken parts. So I posted a picture of winding on an Ostapin, and Jaffa Jenny said, "Oh, do you not have a ball winder?" And I said, "No, mine broke. It only makes yarn barf now." She said, "Well, I have an extra because I got one at the ZK. So would you like it?" And I said, "I would love it." That's really, really exciting. So now I have a new to me ball winder, which is perfect. And I used it to make this lovely cake of yarn, which, as you can see, yarn barf does not exist on this cake of yarn. I'm super excited. When you have a tool that works but doesn't work well and you use it, it takes the enjoyment out of crafting, right? Like, my ball winder was fine. It worked kind of. It did make balls and cakes of yarn, but let's see if my one cake is still in here. Yes, it is. Okay, this is leftover from the mitts. It makes a cake. See, there's a cake with all this yarn barf, which slows down the knitting process because, you know, sometimes I have to unwind it and figure out why it's knotting and where particular strands go. It takes a little bit of the joy out. But the ball winder still worked, and it was faster than winding by hand. So I used it, but now I have a ball winder that does this very, very quickly, as a ball winder should. I'm so excited. So thank you, everybody who sent me things last week, birthday or otherwise. I super duper appreciate it. And I look forward to working on things in the near to mid future. Hopefully not in the far future. I mean, it might be in the far future, but I really don't want it to be the far future. I'm hoping near to mid. The last thing that I have for you this week. Oh, I'm still listening to Dragonfly and Amber. I'm about halfway, and I have almost finished Neverland, a book you love to someone you only like. Both of those are going well. I just don't have a lot to say in addition to what I said last week. And the last thing I have for you this week is a little tip. I was watching the Knitting Room podcast with Ellie, and she was talking about how she didn't know how to look up if someone had gifted you a pattern on Ravelry, or like the name of the person, without actually having to go back through your Ravelry messages and find it. And there is a way to do that. So I typed it out to her, and then I was sitting here and I was knitting, and I was like, I wonder if the viewers know that. So, my friends, this is how you do it. You go to your Ravelry library, and you select the pattern, and then when you pull up the pattern, it has that little pop-up window, and it has 4 lines. It says, I think it says the pattern name, the designer, the publication year, and then under that it says purchased with the date that it was purchased. And if you click on that little link, the purchased link, it takes you to a page that has the receipt. And the receipt has a message, whatever message was sent to you, like if there was a personal message sent with the pattern, and the name of the person who gifted it to you. So you can figure out who sent you what if you wanted to know that information for whatever reason, which is really, really nice if you want to send a thank you, or if you are trying to make a gift for somebody that you know that they send you a pattern, but you have several similar patterns and you can't remember exactly which one you wanted to make for that person. So again, what you do is you click on the pattern in your library, pulls up a pop-up, and then the 4th line in the upper left-hand corner says purchased, and you click purchased, and it takes you to the receipt. So I hope that helps you out. And that is all I have for you this week. I feel like the past few weeks have been very, very content light. I'm sorry about that. I'll work on that. Hopefully there will be more for you coming up. But again, I don't know, because summer is about to happen and I feel like we're going to be on the go a lot. It says tomorrow is supposed to be cloudy but not rainy. And if that is the case, then I think I'm taking the kids to the zoo, which means I need to cast on something today that I can take for walking around the zoo, right? I mean, that's a necessity for living, basically. Anyway, I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string, and I will see you next week. Bye!